You know that feeling when your gut tells you something's wrong, that primal instinct that makes your blood run cold. I should have listened to it sooner. My name is Margaret. I'm 72 years old, and I've seen a lot in my life. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for what I discovered on that humid Tuesday in July. My daughter Emma was supposed to be recovering from a routine surgery. Routine. That's what her husband, Marcus, kept telling me over the phone. Don't worry, Margaret. It's just routine. Everything's fine. But a mother knows. And a grandmother knows even better. Something in his voice didn't sit right with me. It was too smooth, too rehearsed, like he'd practiced those exact words in front of a mirror. I live in a small town in Georgia, about 1,000 miles from where Emma and Marcus had built their life in New York City. She'd married him 5 years ago, this charming investment banker with his perfect smile and his perfect suits and his perfect life that he'd promised her. I had my reservations from the start, but what mother doesn't? You want to trust that your daughter made the right choice. You want to believe that the man she loves will protect her, cherish her, stand by her when things get tough. That's what those vows mean, right? In sickness and in health. Till death do us part. The call came at 3 in the morning. I remember because I was dreaming about Emma as a little girl, playing in our backyard with her golden retriever, Sunny. In the dream, she was laughing, her pigtails bouncing as she ran through the sprinklers. Then the phone rang, shattering that beautiful memory into 1,000 pieces. It was Marcus. His voice was different this time. Panicked, shaking. Margaret, you need to come to New York. Emma's surgery, there were complications. She's in intensive care. My heart stopped. What kind of complications? What happened? Let me talk to her. She can't talk right now. They've got her sedated. Look, I have to go. The doctors need to speak with me. Just get here as soon as you can. And then he hung up. Just like that. No details, no reassurance, no promise that my baby girl was going to be okay. I sat there in the darkness of my bedroom, clutching the phone, my hands trembling so badly I almost dropped it. Robert, my husband of 48 years, was already awake beside me. What is it? He asked, though I think he already knew from the look on my face. It's Emma. We need to go to New York. Now. By 6 a.m., we were on the road to the Atlanta airport. Robert drove while I sat in the passenger seat, making call after call to Marcus's phone. Each one went straight to voicemail. I tried Emma's number. Voicemail. I tried the hospital, but they wouldn't give me any information over the phone. Patient privacy, they said. I wanted to scream. That's my daughter. My only child. The person I would die for without a second thought. And nobody would tell me if she was alive or dead. The flight to New York was the longest 3 hours of my life. I couldn't eat, couldn't read, couldn't even close my eyes without seeing Emma's face. Robert held my hand the entire time, his grip firm and steady, trying to anchor me to something solid. When I felt like I was falling apart. When we finally landed at JFK, I practically ran through the terminal. We caught a taxi to Mount Sinai Hospital on the Upper East Side. The whole ride there, I kept rehearsing what I would say to Marcus. I'd hug him. I'd tell him we were here, that everything would be okay, that we'd get through this together as a family. Because that's what you do in a crisis. You put aside your differences. You support each other. You show up. The hospital was massive. All glass and steel and bustling with people in scrubs. We found the intensive care unit on the 7th floor. The nurse at the desk looked up as we approached. We're here to see Emma Richardson, I said, my voice barely steady. She was admitted yesterday for surgical complications. The nurse checked her computer, her face carefully neutral. And you are? Her mother, Margaret Chen, This is my husband, Robert. Please, we just flew in from Georgia. How is she? The nurse's expression softened slightly. Let me page her doctor. If you'll just have a seat in the waiting area. Can we see her? Please, I just need to see my daughter. The doctor will be with you shortly, ma'am. It wasn't the answer I wanted, but it was all I was going to get. Robert and I sat down in the sterile waiting room with its uncomfortable plastic chairs and its artificial plants and its fluorescent lights that made everything look washed out and wrong. And that's when I asked the question that would change everything. Where's Marcus? I looked around the waiting room. It was empty except for an elderly man sleeping in the corner and a young couple holding each other and crying softly. But no Marcus, no son-in-law keeping vigil for his wife. Robert frowned. Maybe he went home to rest? Or to get food? But even as he said it, we both knew that didn't make sense. Your wife is in intensive care, and you go home? You leave her alone? No. Something was very, very wrong. A doctor appeared about 20 minutes later. She was young, maybe in her early 30s, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Mr. and Mrs. Chen? We stood up immediately. I'm Dr. Sarah Williams. I've been overseeing Emma's care. How is she? Please, just tell us she's okay. Dr. Williams gestured for us to sit back down, and she pulled up a chair across from us. That's when I knew it was bad. Doctors don't sit down to give you good news. Emma underwent what should have been a straightforward appendectomy yesterday morning. Unfortunately, during the procedure, there was unexpected bleeding. We managed to control it, but she lost a significant amount of blood. She went into shock, and her body, well, it's been through a trauma. We've stabilized her, but she's in critical condition. We have her sedated right now to give her body time to heal. The words hit me like physical blows. Critical condition, sedated, trauma. This was supposed to be routine. Marcus said it was routine. Can we see her? I asked. Of course, but I need to prepare you. She has a lot of tubes and monitors. It can be overwhelming. I'm her mother, I said firmly. I need to see my daughter. Dr. Williams nodded and stood up. Follow me. She led us through a set of heavy doors into the ICU. The beeping of monitors and the whoosh of ventilators filled the air. We passed room after room of people fighting for their lives. And with each step, my heart sank deeper into my stomach. Finally, Dr. Williams stopped at room 712. She's in here, she said softly. Nothing could have prepared me for what I saw when I walked through that door. My Emma, my beautiful, vibrant, 32-year-old daughter, looked like a broken doll. She was so pale, she almost blended into the white hospital sheets. Tubes ran from her arms, her chest, her nose. Machines beeped and hummed around her, keeping track of every breath, every heartbeat. I walked to her bedside on legs that didn't feel like my own. I took her hand, so cold and limp in mine, and I felt tears streaming down my face. Oh, baby girl, I whispered. I'm here now. Mama's here. Robert stood beside me, his hand on my shoulder, and I could feel him shaking too. We stood there, for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, just watching our daughter fight for her life. And then I asked the question again. This time, I asked Dr. Williams, where is her husband? Where is Marcus? Dr. Williams looked uncomfortable. She glanced at her tablet, then back at us, then at Emma's still form on the bed. I'm not sure. He was here yesterday during the surgery. He spoke with the surgical team afterward, and then I haven't seen him since. My blood went cold. What do you mean, you haven't seen him since? His wife is in intensive care and he just left. I'm sorry, Mrs. Chen. I can only speak to what I know about Emma's medical condition. Her husband's whereabouts, that's not something I can help you with. Robert spoke up, his voice tight with controlled anger. When exactly did he leave? What time? Dr. Williams checked her tablet again. According to our records, He signed some paperwork around 2 p.m. yesterday and then left the hospital. That was approximately 24 hours ago. 24 hours. Emma had been lying here alone, fighting for her life for 24 hours. While I'd been in Georgia, frantically trying to reach him, desperately trying to get information, he'd simply walked out of this hospital and disappeared. Did he say where he was going? I asked, though I already knew the answer wouldn't satisfy me. No, ma'am, I'm sorry. After Dr. Williams left, promising to check on Emma again in an hour, I sat down in the chair beside my daughter's bed, and I tried to make sense of what was happening. Robert paced the small room like a caged animal. I'm calling him, he said, pulling out his phone. Right now. He dialed Marcus's number. It rang once, twice, 3 times, then went to voicemail. Robert's jaw clenched. Marcus, it's Robert. We're at the hospital with Emma. Call us back immediately. We need to know where you are. He hung up and tried again. Same result. And again. And again. Each time the phone rang and nobody answered, I felt my confusion turning into something else. Something darker. Anger. On the 5th attempt, someone finally picked up. But it wasn't Marcus. It was a woman's voice, young and giggling. Hello? She said, and I could hear music and laughter in the background. Robert looked at me, his eyes wide. He put the phone on speaker. Who is this? Where's Marcus? Oh, is this his phone? Hang on, let me find him. Marcus, she called out. Her voice moving away from the phone. Someone's calling you. We waited, the sounds of a party filtering through the speaker. Music, people talking and laughing, the clink of glasses, and then Marcus's voice, distant but unmistakable. Just throw it in my bag, I'll deal with it later. The woman came back on the line. Sorry, he's kind of busy right now. Can he call you back? Robert's face had gone from pale to red. Tell him it's his wife's parents. Tell him we're at the hospital with Emma, and we need to speak with him now. Oh, okay, hang on. More muffled sounds, more laughter. Then the line went dead. Robert stared at his phone like it had betrayed him. Did that just happen? Did he hang up on us? I couldn't speak. My mind was trying to process what we'd just heard. A party. Marcus was at a party while Emma was here, unconscious, tubes keeping her alive. It didn't make sense. It couldn't be real. Robert tried calling back. This time it went straight to voicemail. He'd turned off his phone. That's it, Robert said, his voice shaking with rage. I'm going to find him, and I'm going to... Wait, I said, holding up my hand. My brain was starting to work again, cutting through the shock and the anger. We need to be smart about this. We need information first. I pulled out my own phone and opened Instagram. Emma and Marcus were both active on social media. Maybe there was something there that would tell us what was happening. I went to Marcus's profile. His last post was from 2 days ago. A picture of him at his office with some generic caption about working hard. Nothing unusual. But then I checked his stories, and there it was. A video posted just 3 hours ago. I clicked on it, and my world tilted on its axis. The video showed Marcus on a yacht, a massive luxury yacht with gleaming white decks and blue water stretching out behind it. He was holding a champagne glass, his arm around a woman in a bikini who definitely wasn't Emma. The caption read, "Living my best life. Sometimes you just need to unplug and recharge." There were more videos. Marcus dancing. Marcus doing shots with a group of people I didn't recognize. Marcus laughing, his head thrown back without a care in the world, while his wife was dying. I showed Robert the phone. He watched the videos, his face going through a series of expressions. Shock, disbelief, fury. "Is this real?" he whispered. "Is this actually happening?" I scrolled through more of the stories. One of Marcus's friends had tagged him in several posts. I clicked through to that profile. More yacht pictures. More parties. And then I found it. A post from that morning with a geotag. They were in the Hamptons, at some exclusive marina, on a yacht called the Wanderlust. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped my phone. I looked at my daughter, lying there so small and vulnerable, and something inside me broke. But it didn't break the way you might think. It didn't shatter into pieces. It crystallized into something hard and sharp and absolutely certain. "Robert," I said quietly, "I need you to stay here with Emma. Don't leave her side for any reason. I'll be back." "Where are you going?" "To the Hamptons." Robert grabbed my arm. "Margaret, wait, let's think about this. Maybe we should call the police or I don't know, but you can't just—" "I absolutely can," I said, and my voice was so calm it scared even me. That man made vows to our daughter. He promised to stand by her in sickness and in health. She is lying here, Robert. She's lying here alone because he decided a yacht party was more important than his dying wife. So yes, I can just, and I will. I kissed Robert's cheek, squeezed Emma's hand one more time, and walked out of that hospital room with a purpose I'd never felt before in my entire life. In the elevator down to the lobby, I Googled how to get to the Hamptons from Manhattan. It was about a 2-hour drive. I could rent a car, or take a bus, or hire a driver. Then I had a better idea. I opened the Uber app and requested a ride. Long distance, I typed. Manhattan to Hamptons. Will pay premium. Within minutes, a driver accepted. While I waited outside the hospital for my ride, I did something I should have done years ago. I called my lawyer. David Rothstein had been our family attorney for 30 years. He'd handled our wills, our property transfers, everything. He'd also handled Emma's prenuptial agreement. Yes, Emma had a prenup. Because 5 years ago, when she'd gotten engaged to Marcus, I'd insisted on it. Emma came from money. Not crazy money, but comfortable money. My parents had built a successful textile business, and when they died, they'd left everything to me. I'd invested wisely over the years, and by the time Emma was born, we had a substantial nest egg. When Emma turned 25, I'd transferred several properties into her name. A building in downtown Atlanta that generated rental income, a beach house in South Carolina, and most importantly, a trust fund worth approximately $8 million. Marcus had known about the money. Of course he had. You can't hide that kind of wealth in a marriage. But what he didn't know, what I'd made absolutely certain he didn't know, was that the prenup Emma had signed included some very specific clauses. Clauses about infidelity. Clauses about abandonment. Clauses about what would happen if he ever failed to honor his commitments to my daughter. David answered on the third ring. "Margaret, is everything okay?" "No, David, everything is very much not okay. I need you to pull Emma's prenuptial agreement, and I need you to tell me exactly what our options are." I explained the situation while I stood on that Manhattan sidewalk, people rushing past me, the city humming with its usual chaos while my world was falling apart. David listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long pause. "Margaret," he said carefully, "what you're describing, if it's true, constitutes abandonment under the terms of the prenup. It also potentially constitutes emotional distress and breach of marital duties. The prenup is ironclad. If we can prove he abandoned her during a medical emergency, Emma would retain all of her separate property, and Marcus would be entitled to exactly nothing from the marriage." "Define prove," I said. "Documentation. Hospital records showing she was admitted and he left. Evidence that he was elsewhere, engaging in recreational activities, while she was in critical condition. Witnesses. Photos. Social media posts. Anything that establishes a timeline and his location. I can get you all of that," I said. "Good. But Margaret, I need to ask you something. What are you planning to do? I watched my Uber pull up to the curb, a black SUV with tinted windows. I'm planning to remind Marcus Richardson exactly who he married into, and I'm planning to make sure he never, ever hurts my daughter again. Be careful, David warned. Don't do anything that could be construed as threatening or, David. I interrupted. I'm 72 years old. I'm 4'11". I weigh 98 pounds. What exactly do you think I'm going to do? He chuckled despite himself. Fair point. Call me when you get back. And Margaret, give him hell. I hung up and climbed into the SUV. The driver, a man in his 40s with kind eyes, looked at me in the rearview mirror. Hampton Bays Marina, he confirmed. That's right, and I'll pay you double if you can get me there in under 90 minutes. He grinned. You got it. As we pulled away from the hospital and merged into New York traffic, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Power. I'd spent so much of my life being polite, being accommodating, being the sweet grandmother who baked cookies and never made waves. But that woman was gone now. In her place was someone who had just discovered what her son-in-law was really made of. And she was going to dismantle his entire world, piece by piece. The drive to the Hamptons was a blur of highway and determination. My driver, whose name was Carlos, didn't ask questions. He just drove, occasionally glancing at me in the mirror with something that looked like concern. About halfway there, my phone rang. It was Robert. How is she? I asked immediately. The same. No change. But Margaret, the nurse just told me something. Marcus did leave a number to call in case of emergency. It's not his cell phone. It's a different number. Give it to me. Robert read off the digits and I wrote them down on a napkin I found in the car. I tried calling it. No answer. I'll handle it, I said. How are you holding up? I'm sitting here watching our daughter breathe through a machine, Margaret. How do you think I'm holding up? His voice cracked. I keep thinking about when she was little. Remember, when she fell off her bike and broke her arm? She was so brave. She didn't even cry until we got to the hospital. She's still brave, I said softly. She's fighting right now. And we're going to fight for her too. After we hung up, I stared at that phone number. Then I dialed it. It rang 4 times before someone picked up. A man's voice, smooth and professional. Wanderlust Charter Services, this is Captain Mike speaking. Hello, I said, keeping my voice steady. I'm trying to reach one of your passengers, Marcus Richardson. It's a family emergency. There was a pause. I could hear that same background noise from before, music and laughter. Ma'am, I'm not supposed to disturb the guests unless his wife is in intensive care, I said, and I let every ounce of ice I was feeling seep into my voice. She may not make it through the night. Now you can either get him on this phone right now, or you can explain to your employers why you prevented a man from being notified that his wife was dying. Another pause, then, hold please. I waited, my heart pounding. More muffled sounds, then Marcus's voice, annoyed and slightly slurred. Hello? Marcus, it's Margaret. Silence. Then, oh, hey, Margaret. Look, I'm sorry I haven't called back. It's been crazy. How's Emma doing? How's Emma doing? Like she had a cold. Like she wasn't lying in a hospital bed with machines keeping her alive. She's in critical condition, Marcus. The doctors don't know if she's going to make it. Where are you? I'm dealing with some work stuff. I had this meeting that I couldn't miss, and you're on a yacht in the Hamptons, I said flatly. I've seen your Instagram stories, so let's not do this dance where you lie to me and I pretend to believe you. More silence. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. The false concern was gone, replaced by something defensive and ugly. Look, I don't need to explain myself to you. Emma's fine. The doctor said she's stable. There's nothing I can do sitting in that hospital room. So I decided to party, I finished. While your wife fights for her life, you decided to party. It's not like that. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. I needed to clear my head. Emma would understand. Would she? I asked, because I don't think my daughter would understand why her husband abandoned her. I don't think she'd understand why you left her alone and scared. And I absolutely don't think she'd understand why you're drunk on a yacht with your arm around another woman. Jesus Christ, he muttered. That's just Karen. She's a friend. Nothing's happening. You're making this into something it's not. No, Marcus. You made this into something, and now you're going to deal with the consequences. What's that supposed to mean? Are you threatening me? I smiled, even though he couldn't see it. I don't make threats, Marcus. I make promises. And here's my promise to you. You have exactly 1 hour to get yourself back to that hospital. 1 hour. If you're not standing next to Emma's bed in 60 minutes, you're going to discover just how expensive your little yacht party really was. You can't. What are you even talking about? Look, I'll come back tomorrow. I promise. But I'm in the middle of something here, and 59 minutes now, I said, and hung up. Carlos caught my eye in the mirror. That sounded intense. Just getting started, I said. We arrived at Hampton Bays Marina 45 minutes after leaving Manhattan. Carlos had earned every penny of that double fare. The marina was exactly what you'd expect. Sleek, expensive, and full of boats that cost more than most people's houses. I paid Carlos and added a generous tip. Will you want me to wait? He asked. No, thank you. I'll find my own way back. I stood on the dock, scanning the boats, until I found it. The Wanderlust. It was impossible to miss. A 70-foot yacht with multiple decks, all gleaming white and chrome. I could hear the music from where I stood. I could see people moving around on the upper deck. And there, right at the front, holding court with a drink in his hand, was Marcus. I walked up the gangplank without hesitation. A young man in a white uniform tried to stop me. Ma'am, I'm sorry. This is a private event. Do you have an invitation? I'm family, I said, pushing past him. Marcus Richardson is my son-in-law. Ma'am, I really can't let you. But I was already on deck. The party stopped like someone had pressed pause. 20 or so people, all in their 30s and 40s. All dressed in expensive casual wear. All holding drinks. All turning to stare at this tiny, elderly woman who just crashed their party. And then there was Marcus. He stood frozen, with a whiskey in one hand and his other arm draped over the shoulders of a blonde woman in a white bikini and a sheer cover-up. His face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Surprise, confusion, and finally, fear. Margaret, he said, his voice strangled. What are you doing here? Keeping my promise, I said. I walked toward him slowly, deliberately, and the crowd parted, like the Red Sea. Remember, I told you that you had an hour to get back to the hospital. But I realized something during my drive out here. I realized that I don't want you at that hospital. I don't want you anywhere near my daughter ever again. You can't. You don't get to make that decision, he sputtered. The blonde woman had slipped away from him, suddenly very interested in her phone. Actually, I can, and I just did. You see, Marcus, there's something you never knew about Emma's prenuptial agreement. His face went pale. What are you talking about? The prenup that you signed 5 years ago includes some very specific clauses. Clauses about abandonment, about failure to provide support during medical emergencies, about infidelity. I didn't cheat. I told you Karen is just... I don't care about Karen, I said coldly. I care that you left my daughter alone in intensive care so you could drink champagne on a yacht. That's abandonment, Marcus. Legal, documented, ironclad abandonment. One of his friends, a man with gelled hair and a polo shirt, stepped forward. "Who is this woman?" "This woman," I said, turning to face him, "is Margaret Chen, Emma Richardson's mother, and the person who actually owns everything Marcus has been pretending is his." That got their attention. The whole party was watching now, all pretense of not listening abandoned. Marcus was shaking his head. "That's not true. Emma and I share everything. We're married. Community property." "Wrong," I said. "Read the prenup, Marcus. All of Emma's property remains her separate property. The Atlanta building that generates $50,000 a month in rental income, Emma's. The beach house in Hilton Head, Emma's. The $8 million trust fund, Emma's. And under the terms of the prenup, which specifically addresses abandonment during medical emergencies, you are entitled to exactly nothing." The whiskey glass slipped from Marcus's hand and shattered on the deck. "You're lying. You're just trying to scare me." "Am I?" I pulled out my phone and opened my email. David had worked fast. There was already a message with an attachment. I turned the phone so Marcus could see the screen. "That's a copy of the prenup you signed. Page 7, Section 12, Subsection C. Would you like me to read it to you? Or would you prefer to read it yourself?" His hands were shaking as he took the phone. I watched his eyes scan the document, watched the color drain completely from his face. "This can't be legal," he whispered. "Oh, it's very legal. You signed it. Your lawyer reviewed it. It was notarized and filed. And now, thanks to your Instagram stories and multiple witnesses, including a yacht captain who can testify about when you left the hospital and what you've been doing since, we have all the documentation we need." "Wait," he said, and now there was panic in his voice. "Wait, let's talk about this. I made a mistake, okay? I admit it. But Emma, she'll forgive me. She always forgives me. And this prenup, it only matters if she wants to enforce it." I smiled then, and it was not a kind smile. "You're absolutely right. It only matters if Emma wants to enforce it. But here's the thing, Marcus. Emma is unconscious. She can't make decisions right now. But I can. I have Emma's power of attorney for medical and financial decisions in case of incapacitation. I've had it since before you two got married. Another thing you didn't know." The deck tilted under his feet. Or maybe that was just him swaying. "You can't do this. I already did. While you were doing shots and posting videos, I had my lawyer file emergency papers. As of 20 minutes ago, all of Emma's accounts are frozen. You can't access them. The credit cards in your wallet, declined. That Tesla you love so much, it's registered in Emma's name, and it's being repossessed as we speak. The apartment you're living in, Emma's name on the lease. You have until midnight tomorrow to collect your personal belongings. This is insane. You can't just. People don't just do this. People do when someone hurts their daughter," I said quietly. "You made a choice, Marcus. You chose this party over your wife. You chose drinks and dancing and posting on social media over sitting beside the woman you promised to love and cherish. So now, you get to live with that choice." One of the women in the crowd, a brunette in a sundress, spoke up. "Marcus, is this true? Is your wife really in the hospital?" He didn't answer. He just stood there, the phone still in his hand, his whole world crumbling around him. "I'll sue you," he said finally. "I'll fight this. I'll get lawyers." "Please do," I said. "My lawyers would love that." Did I mention that any legal action you take will also violate the prenup's arbitration clause? You'll be responsible for both sides' legal fees. But go ahead. Dig yourself deeper. I took my phone back from Marcus's trembling hands. The party had gone completely silent now. Even the music had stopped, someone having had the sense to turn it off. 20 pairs of eyes watched this domestic drama unfold like it was a television show. "You know what the saddest part is," I said, and my voice carried across the deck in the sudden quiet. "Emma loved you. She really, truly loved you. When she told me she wanted to marry you, I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Joy. Pure, uncomplicated joy. She thought she'd found her person. Her partner. The man who would stand beside her through everything life threw at them." Marcus's face crumpled. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. "I do love her," he said, and his voice was thick with tears. "I love Emma. I couldn't handle it. Seeing her like that, with all the tubes and the machines. It scared me. I didn't know what to do." "So you ran," I said. "You ran, and you drank, and you partied because you were scared. Do you know what Emma did when you were diagnosed with pneumonia 2 years ago? She took 3 weeks off work. She sat beside your bed every single night. She barely slept because she was so worried about you. She held your hand and read to you and made sure you weren't alone for 1 single second. That's what love looks like, Marcus. That's what commitment looks like. What you did, that's cowardice." "I know," he whispered. "I know I messed up. But please, please let me fix this. Let me go back to the hospital. Let me be there for her now. It's too late for that." "It can't be too late. She's my wife. I have rights." The blonde woman, Karen, who had been edging toward the exit, spoke up. "Actually, Marcus, I think you should probably listen to her." He spun around. "Shut up, Karen. This doesn't concern you." "It kind of does," she said, holding up her own phone. "Because I just Googled Margaret Chen, and holy shit, Marcus. Her family owns Chen Textiles. They're worth like hundreds of millions. And you told us your wife was some mid-level marketing manager. You said you were the one with money." The realization rippled through the crowd. I could see it in their faces. Marcus hadn't just been lying to me. He'd been lying to everyone. "I never said I was the one with money," Marcus protested weakly. "You implied it," said the man with the gelled hair. "Every time we went out, you'd flash your black card. You talked about your portfolio. You acted like you were some big shot." "I am a big shot. I am a senior associate at Goldman. Living on your wife's money," Karen said flatly. "Oh my God. The apartment, the car, the vacations. That was all her, wasn't it?" Marcus's face had gone from pale to red. "Get off the boat," he said to Karen. "Get off right now." "Gladly," she said. This party just got way too weird for me. She grabbed her bag and left, and several others followed. Within minutes, half the party had cleared out, leaving Marcus standing in the wreckage of his social life. I almost felt bad for him. Almost. "Margaret," he said, and now he was crying openly. "Please, I'm begging you. Don't do this. Emma wouldn't want this. Don't you dare," I said, and my voice was sharp enough to cut. "Don't you dare tell me what my daughter would want. You lost that right when you abandoned her. I'll go back right now. I'll get in my car and I'll drive straight to the hospital, and I'll never leave her side again. I swear." "How exactly are you planning to do that?" asked a new voice. We all turned to see a uniformed police officer walking onto the yacht. He was young, maybe late 20s, with a professional demeanor and sharp eyes that took in the scene immediately. "Officer," Marcus said, relief flooding his face. "Thank God you're here. This woman, she's harassing me. She's threatening me. I want to press charges." The officer looked at me, then at Marcus, then pulled out a small notebook. "I'm Officer Bennett. I got a call about a disturbance. Can someone tell me what's going on here?" "I can," I said calmly. "My name is Margaret Chen. My daughter, Emma Richardson, is in intensive care at Mount Sinai Hospital in Manhattan. She's in critical condition following surgical complications. Her husband, Marcus Richardson, left the hospital yesterday and has been here, partying, while she fights for her life. I came to inform him of the legal consequences of his actions. Officer Bennett wrote something in his notebook. "And you are?" he asked Marcus. "I'm Marcus Richardson. And yes, my wife is in the hospital, but this woman, she's not just informing me. She's trying to steal everything from me. She's freezing my accounts and taking my car, and his wife's accounts," I corrected. "His wife's car. All of which are covered under a prenuptial agreement that Mr. Richardson signed. I have documentation if you'd like to see it." Officer Bennett looked between us. "This sounds like a civil matter, not something that requires police involvement." "Exactly," I said. "I haven't threatened Mr. Richardson. I haven't touched him. I simply informed him of the legal consequences of abandoning his wife during a medical emergency. Consequences he agreed to when he signed the prenup." "She can't do this," Marcus shouted. "She can't just take everything." "Sir, I'm going to need you to calm down," Officer Bennett said. "Ma'am, are you finished here?" "I am," I said. "I've said everything I came to say." "Then I suggest you leave before this escalates further." I nodded and turned to go, but Marcus grabbed my arm. "Wait, please. Just tell me, is Emma going to be okay? Really?" I looked at his hand on my arm, then up at his face. The tears were real. The fear was real. But so was everything he'd done. "I don't know," I said honestly. "The doctors don't know. She's fighting, but it's touch and go. And that's what makes what you did so unforgivable, Marcus. You weren't there for the easy parts. You were there for the vacations and the parties and the Instagram moments. But when it got hard, when it got scary, when she actually needed you, you ran." I pulled my arm free and walked off that yacht with my head held high. Behind me, I could hear Marcus starting to shout again, and Officer Bennett's calm voice telling him to settle down. I didn't look back. Carlos, bless him, had waited after all. He was parked at the far end of the marina, and when he saw me, he pulled up. "How'd it go?" he asked as I got in. "About as well as could be expected," I said. "Can you take me back to the hospital?" "You got it." On the drive back, my phone exploded with notifications. Text messages, voicemails, missed calls. Most of them were from numbers I didn't recognize. But one was from David, my lawyer. I called him back. "Margaret, what happened? I've got Marcus's attorney on the other line screaming about harassment and illegal seizure of assets." "Good," I said. "Let him scream. Everything I did was legal, correct?" "Technically, yes, though showing up at his party was, let's say, dramatic." "He abandoned my daughter, David. He left her alone in intensive care to go drink on a yacht. If I'd done nothing, if I just sat there and let him get away with it, I'd never forgive myself." David sighed. "I know, and honestly, he deserves everything he's getting. But Margaret, there's something you need to know. Marcus's lawyer is threatening to go to the press. He's claiming elder abuse, saying you're taking advantage of Emma's condition to punish him." "Let him," I said. "I have Instagram stories of Marcus partying while his wife was dying. I have witness statements. I have hospital records. If he wants to go to the press, we'll go to the press. Let's see how that works out for him." "You're sure about this? Once this becomes public, there's no taking it back." I thought about Emma, lying in that hospital bed. I thought about all the times Marcus had made her cry, made her doubt herself, made her feel like she wasn't enough. I'd seen it over the years, the little comments, the casual cruelty disguised as jokes. I'd watched my confident, brilliant daughter slowly shrink herself to make him comfortable. "I'm sure," I said. "Then I'll prepare for war," David said. "Good luck, Margaret." When I got back to the hospital, it was nearly 7 p.m. I'd been gone for almost 6 hours. I rode the elevator up to the ICU, my legs shaking now that the adrenaline was wearing off. Robert was still in the chair beside Emma's bed, exactly where I'd left him. He looked up when I came in, and the relief on his face nearly broke me. "You're back," he said. "How did it go?" "It went," I said, sinking into the chair on Emma's other side. "I'll tell you everything later. How is she?" "The same. Dr. Williams came by about an hour ago. She said Emma's vitals are holding steady. They're going to try reducing the sedation tomorrow, see if she can breathe on her own." I took Emma's hand, and it felt slightly warmer than before. Or maybe that was just wishful thinking. "Did Marcus call?" Robert asked. "No, and he won't. I made sure of that." Robert studied my face. "What did you do, Margaret?" "What I should have done 5 years ago," I said. "I protected our daughter." We sat there in silence for a while, just listening to the beep of the monitors and the whoosh of the ventilator. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I opened it. "You're going to regret this. I'll destroy you." It was Marcus, of course. Probably from someone else's phone, since his own was apparently dead or turned off. I showed the text to Robert. "Should we be worried?" he asked. "No," I said. "He's just scared, and he should be." I typed back a response. "The only thing I regret is not protecting Emma from you sooner. And Marcus, you can't destroy me. But I can and will destroy you if you ever come near my daughter again. Choose your next move very carefully." I hit send and blocked the number. Then I turned off my phone completely. Whatever happened next could wait. Right now, all that mattered was Emma. Robert reached over and took my hand, and we sat there together, keeping watch over our daughter. 2 old warriors who weren't going to let anyone hurt her ever again. Outside the window, the sun was setting over Manhattan, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It was beautiful and terrible, and somewhere out there, Marcus Richardson was realizing that he just made the biggest mistake of his life. But that was his problem now. Mine was sitting right here, breathing with the help of machines, fighting to come back to us. "Come on, baby girl," I whispered. "Come back. Mama's here. And I promise you, when you wake up, everything's going to be different. Everything's going to be better. I promise." The monitor beeped steadily. The ventilator whooshed, and we waited. The night passed in that peculiar way hospital nights do, where time seems to stretch and compress simultaneously. Robert dozed in his chair, his head tilted at an uncomfortable angle that would leave him with a terrible crick in his neck. I couldn't sleep. I sat there holding Emma's hand, watching the numbers on the monitors, memorizing the pattern of beeps and whooshes that meant she was still with us. Around 3 in the morning, a nurse came in to check Emma's vitals. She was older than the other nurses I'd seen, maybe in her 50s, with kind eyes and gentle hands. "You should try to get some rest," she said softly as she adjusted one of the IV lines. "The chairs in the waiting room fold out into beds." "I'm fine here," I said. She smiled. "You're her mother?" "Yes. I can tell. You have the same nose." I looked at Emma's face, so pale against the pillow, and tried to see what the nurse saw. "She's beautiful," the nurse continued. "And she's a fighter. I can see it in how she's responding. Her body wants to heal. I hope you're right." "I am. I've been doing this for 30 years. "You develop a sense for these things." She paused, then added, "Her husband hasn't been back." It wasn't a question. "No," I said, "he won't be coming back." The nurse nodded, and I could see in her eyes that she'd heard some version of this story before. People who couldn't handle the reality of illness. People who ran when things got hard. "Good," she said simply. Then she left, and I was alone with Emma and Robert again. Around 5 a.m., my phone started buzzing. I'd turned it back on to check for updates from David. There were 43 missed calls, 67 text messages, and my email inbox had over 200 new messages. Something had happened. I opened my email first. The top message was from David, marked urgent. Margaret, Marcus's lawyer, leaked the story to the press. It's everywhere. Call me as soon as you see this. My stomach dropped. I opened my news app and searched for Emma's name. The headlines hit me like physical blows. Millionaire mother-in-law destroys man's life while wife lies in coma. Elderly woman uses daughter's illness to exact revenge on son-in-law. Family drama turns ugly. Rich mother strips husband of everything while wife fights for life. I clicked on the first article. It was from a tabloid website, the kind that thrives on scandal and outrage. They'd gotten quotes from Marcus, or more likely, his lawyer. The article painted me as a vindictive, controlling monster who had never approved of Marcus and was using Emma's medical crisis to punish him. It claimed I'd ambushed him at a business retreat and illegally seized his assets while he was dealing with the trauma of his wife's near-death experience. There were quotes from unnamed friends saying Marcus was devastated and being prevented from seeing his wife. The article even included a photo of me taken from my personal Facebook page, next to a photo of Marcus looking handsome and sympathetic in a suit. The comments section was exactly what you'd expect. Thousands of people, none of whom knew the full story, weighing in with their opinions. This is elder abuse. That poor man. Rich people think they can do whatever they want. Someone needs to investigate this woman. But then I scrolled further and started seeing different comments. Wait, he was on a yacht while she was in the hospital? Did anyone actually read the prenup details? He signed this agreement. My ex did the same thing when I was sick. Left me at the hospital to go golfing. Some people are just garbage. Someone had found Marcus's Instagram stories. They'd been screenshot and posted to Twitter, and they were going viral. The timestamps were visible, clearly showing that he'd been partying while Emma was in intensive care. The narrative was shifting. Fast. I opened Twitter and searched for trending topics. Hashtag Marcus Richardson was number 3. I clicked on it and found thousands of tweets, most of them far less sympathetic to Marcus than that first article had been. This man really posted yacht party videos while his wife was dying. Someone get this man's side of the story, because from here, it looks like he deserves everything he got. Not the yacht party. During a medical emergency, I cannot. There were memes. People had made memes about Marcus. One showed him holding champagne with the caption, "My wife is in critical condition, but these mimosas won't drink themselves." Another showed a side-by-side of his Instagram story next to a stock photo of a hospital room, with the caption, "Guess which one Marcus chose." I should have felt vindicated. The truth was coming out. People were seeing Marcus for what he really was. But instead, I just felt tired and scared. Because Emma was still here, still fighting, and none of this social media circus was going to help her wake up. I called David. He answered immediately. "You've seen it." "All of it," I said. "What do we do now?" "Nothing. We let it play out." Marcus's lawyer made a huge mistake by going to the press. Now all of this is public record. The hospital records, the Instagram posts, the prenup details, everything. He can't control the narrative anymore. But those first articles, they make me sound like a monster. Those first articles came from his team. But look at what's happening now. People are finding the truth. They're sharing Emma's story. They're supporting you. He was right. I could see it happening in real time. Someone had created a GoFundMe for Emma's medical expenses, even though she didn't need it. It had raised $80,000 in 3 hours. People were sharing stories of their own experiences with partners who'd abandoned them during medical crises. The hashtag Team Margaret was trending. There's something else, David said. Marcus's firm called. Goldman Sachs. They've placed him on administrative leave pending an investigation. Investigation into what? His conduct. Apparently, several colleagues saw the Instagram stories and reported them to HR. They're concerned about his judgment and character. And Margaret, this is the important part. They're also reviewing his expense reports. Someone noticed that a lot of his business trips were charged to the company card, but seemed to have been personal vacations. With Emma's money, I said quietly. Exactly. If they find evidence of fraud or misuse of company resources, he could be fired. And prosecuted. I should have felt satisfaction at that. But mostly I just felt sad. Sad for Emma, who'd loved this man. Sad for the life she'd thought they were building together. Sad that it had come to this. Keep me posted, I said. And David? Thank you for everything. After we hung up, I sat there in the dim light of Emma's hospital room, listening to her breathe, and I thought about all the choices that had led us to this moment. If I hadn't insisted on the prenup 5 years ago, Marcus would have access to everything right now. If I hadn't kept power of attorney, I wouldn't have been able to freeze the accounts. If I hadn't been the kind of mother who prepared for worst-case scenarios, who dotted every I and crossed every T, Emma would wake up to find herself not just betrayed, but financially destroyed. But I had done those things, because I'd learned long ago that love means protection. It means thinking ahead. It means building walls before you need them, just in case. Robert stirred in his chair and opened his eyes. What time is it? A little after 6. The sun's coming up. He stretched, wincing at the pain in his neck. Did you sleep at all? No. But Robert, something's happened. Marcus went to the press. I showed him my phone, the articles, the tweets, the memes. He read through them, his expression growing darker with each swipe. This is insane, he said finally. It's 2025, I said. Everything is insane. What do we do? We focus on Emma. Let the lawyers handle the rest. As if on cue, Dr. Williams appeared in the doorway. She looked tired, but alert, like she'd been up all night too. Good morning, she said. How are you both holding up? We're here, I said. That's what matters. Dr. Williams pulled up a chair. I wanted to talk to you about Emma's treatment plan. Her vitals have remained stable throughout the night, which is a very good sign. We're going to start reducing her sedation this morning. If all goes well, she could be conscious by this afternoon. My heart leaped. Conscious? You mean she could wake up? Possibly. We need to take it slow. But her body is healing faster than we expected. She's strong. She gets that from her mother, Robert said, squeezing my hand. Dr. Williams smiled. I believe it. Now I need to prepare you for what happens next. When Emma wakes up, she's going to be confused and disoriented. She'll have a lot of questions. And she's going to ask about her husband. The joy I'd felt a moment ago evaporated. What do we tell her? You tell her the truth, Dr. Williams said gently. But maybe not all at once. Her body has been through significant trauma. Emotional stress could impact her recovery. So when she asks about Marcus, you can tell her he's not here. You don't have to explain everything immediately. She's going to want to know why, I said. She's going to want to see him. Then you'll handle that when the time comes. But right now, let's focus on getting her awake and stable, one step at a time. After Dr. Williams left to prepare for the procedure, Robert and I sat in silence. Are you ready for this? He asked. To watch Emma's heart break all over again when she learns what Marcus did? No, I said honestly, but I'll do it anyway, because that's what parents do. At 9 a.m., they started reducing Emma's sedation. Robert and I stood on opposite sides of her bed, each holding one of her hands, and we waited. The minutes crawled by. 10 a.m. came and went. 11. At noon, I saw her fingers twitch. Robert, I whispered, did you see that? I saw it. We watched, barely breathing, as Emma's hand moved again. Then her eyelids fluttered. "Emma," I said softly. "Sweetheart, it's Mom. Can you hear me?" Her eyes opened, just a crack at first, then wider. She looked confused, frightened, trying to focus on something. "Mom?" Her voice was barely a whisper, rough from the ventilator tube they'd removed an hour ago. "I'm here, baby. Dad's here too. You're in the hospital. You had surgery and there were some complications, but you're going to be okay." Emma's eyes moved around the room, taking in the monitors, the IV lines, trying to make sense of where she was. Then she said the word I'd been dreading. "Marcus?" I looked at Robert. He looked back at me. In that moment, I had to make a choice. Tell Emma the truth right now, while she was still weak and disoriented? Or protect her a little longer, give her time to heal before shattering her world. "He's not here right now," I said carefully. "But we're here, and you're safe." Emma's face crumpled. Even in her weakened state, I could see the confusion and hurt in her eyes. "Where is he? Why isn't he here?" "Let's not worry about that right now," Robert said, his voice gentle. "You need to focus on getting better." "No," Emma said, and despite how weak she was, there was steel in her voice. My daughter's voice. "Tell me where my husband is." I took a deep breath. There was no way around this. Emma deserved the truth, even if it destroyed her. "He left the hospital yesterday, sweetheart. He went to the Hamptons." Emma blinked, processing this. "The Hamptons? Why? Did something happen with work?" "No, honey. He went to a party, on a yacht. With his friends." The words hung in the air like toxic smoke. I watched Emma's face as she tried to understand what I was telling her. "A party?" she whispered. "I don't understand. I was in surgery. What happened? Why am I here?" Dr. Williams had come in quietly, and now she stepped forward. "Emma, you had an emergency appendectomy. During the surgery, there was unexpected bleeding. You lost a lot of blood and went into shock. We had to put you in a medically induced coma to give your body time to heal." "How long?" Emma asked. 2 days. You've been unconscious for 2 days." Emma looked back at me, and I could see the math happening in her head. 2 days. Marcus left after the surgery, which meant he'd been gone for almost the entire time. "He left me," she said, and it wasn't a question. "Yes," I said, because there was no point in softening it anymore. "He left you." "But he came back, right? He's here now? He just stepped out?" "No, sweetheart, he didn't come back." The monitors started beeping faster as Emma's heart rate increased. Dr. Williams moved closer, checking the readings. "Emma, I need you to try to stay calm. Your body is still healing." "How can I stay calm?" Emma said. And now there were tears streaming down her face. "My husband, where is he? Why didn't anyone call him? He needs to know I'm awake." "He knows," I said quietly. "We called him. Multiple times. He didn't come back." Emma was shaking her head. Over and over, like she could physically deny what I was saying. No, that's not right. Marcus wouldn't. He wouldn't just leave me. There has to be an explanation. Maybe he couldn't get back. Maybe there was traffic, or his phone died, or... "Emma," Robert said gently, "we have proof. He posted videos on Instagram. He was at a party on a yacht, drinking and dancing, while you were here fighting for your life." "Show me," Emma demanded. "Show me the videos." I didn't want to. God, I didn't want to. But she needed to see it. I pulled out my phone and found the screenshots someone had posted on Twitter. I held the phone where Emma could see it. The video played. Marcus, laughing, champagne in hand, his arm around a blonde woman. The caption, "Living my best life." Emma watched in silence. When the video ended, I swiped to the next one. Marcus doing shots. Marcus dancing. Marcus having the time of his life while his wife lay dying. "Stop," Emma whispered. "Please stop." I put the phone away. Emma was crying silently now, tears running down into her hair. The heart rate monitor was beeping insistently. "I'm going to give you something to help you relax," Dr. Williams said, adjusting the IV. "Emma, I know this is devastating, but your body needs to heal. We can talk more about all of this later." "I trusted him," Emma said, her voice breaking. "I loved him. I gave him everything. How could he just leave me?" "I don't know, baby," I said, and I was crying too now. "I don't know. Where is he now?" Emma asked. "Still at the party?" "No," I said. There's something else I need to tell you, something I did." Through her tears, Emma focused on me. "What did you do, Mom?" "I went to the Hamptons. I found him at that party, and I enforced your prenuptial agreement, the abandonment clause." Emma stared at me. "The what? What does that mean?" "It means Marcus no longer has access to any of your money or property. The accounts are frozen. The car has been repossessed. He has until tomorrow to collect his personal belongings from the apartment. After that, he's out." I watched Emma process this information. Her face went through a series of expressions: shock, disbelief, anger, and finally, something that looked almost like relief. "You did that?" she asked. "While I was unconscious?" "Yes. I used the power of attorney you gave me. I'm sorry, Emma. I know I should have waited for you to wake up. But I couldn't. I couldn't let him get away with what he did. I couldn't let him hurt you more than he already had." Emma was quiet for a long moment. The medication Dr. Williams had given her was starting to work. I could see her eyelids getting heavy. "Mom?" she said softly. "Yes, sweetheart." "Thank you." Those two words hit me like a physical force. "You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do, because you did what I should have done years ago. You protected me, even when I was too blind to see that I needed protecting." Her eyes closed. Within moments, she was asleep. But this time it was natural sleep, the kind that comes with healing, not the artificial unconsciousness of medical sedation. Robert and I stood there, still holding her hands, and I felt something release in my chest, a tension I'd been carrying for 5 years, ever since Emma had first brought Marcus home to meet us. "She's going to be okay," Robert said. "Not right away, but eventually." "I know," I said, "but it's going to hurt first." Over the next few hours, while Emma slept, my phone continued to explode with notifications. The story had taken on a life of its own. Someone had created a TikTok account called Justice for Emma and was posting daily updates. True crime YouTubers were making videos analyzing the situation. A prominent divorce attorney had gone on CNN to discuss the legal implications of prenuptial abandonment clauses. Marcus had apparently hired a PR firm to try to salvage his image. They'd released a statement claiming that he'd been unfairly characterized and was devastated by his wife's condition, and had only left the hospital briefly to cope with the trauma in his own way. The internet was not buying it. Someone found out that the blonde woman in the videos, Karen, worked at Marcus's office. They'd apparently been friends for 2 years, though several of their colleagues had noticed that they seemed awfully close. Karen had deleted all her social media accounts. Marcus's Instagram had been set to private, but not before people had archived all his posts. Someone created a compilation of every expensive vacation he'd taken, every designer purchase he'd shown off, every flex about his success, with a voiceover explaining that it had all been funded by his wife's family money. The video had been viewed 12 million times. Goldman Sachs released a statement saying they were conducting a thorough review of the situation and took such matters very seriously. Translation: Marcus was probably going to be fired. But the most surprising development came around 3 p.m. A woman named Jennifer Torres had posted a video on TikTok. She was in her 40s, well-dressed, speaking directly to the camera with the kind of confidence that comes from being absolutely sure of your story. "I need to share something about Marcus Richardson," she said. 10 years ago, I was engaged to him. We were planning our wedding. Then I got sick. I had a severe infection that required hospitalization. Marcus visited me once, told me he couldn't handle seeing me like that, and never came back. He broke up with me via text message while I was still in the hospital. When I recovered and tried to get my belongings back from our shared apartment, I discovered he'd sold most of them, including my grandmother's jewelry, which he knew was irreplaceable. I tried to take legal action, but I couldn't afford a lawyer, and he had resources. So I had to let it go. But when I saw Emma's story, I knew I had to speak up. This isn't a one-time thing for Marcus. This is who he is. This is his pattern. And I'm so glad Emma has a mother who fought for her, because I didn't have anyone fighting for me. The video went viral immediately. Within hours, 2 more women had come forward with similar stories. Not as dramatic as Jennifer's, but a pattern nonetheless. Marcus had a history of being charming and attentive when things were good, then disappearing or becoming cruel when his partners needed support. One woman said he'd ghosted her when her father died. Another said he'd broken up with her when she lost her job, calling her dead weight. The Marcus Richardson that the internet was discovering was very different from the Marcus Richardson who charmed my daughter 5 years ago. He was a man who'd spent his entire adult life finding women who had more than him, women he could use, women he could discard when they became inconvenient. And he'd almost gotten away with it. If Emma hadn't gotten sick, if I hadn't insisted on that prenuptial agreement, if I hadn't been the kind of mother who prepared for the worst, Marcus would still be living his perfect life on Emma's money, and she'd never have known the truth. Around 6 p.m., Emma woke up again. This time, her eyes were clearer, more focused. "How long was I asleep?" she asked. "A few hours," I said. "How are you feeling?" "Like I got hit by a truck, but better than before." She looked around the room. "Dad went to get food?" "Yes, he'll be back soon." Emma was quiet for a moment, then said, "I need to see the videos again. All of them." "Emma, you don't need to torture yourself." "Yes, I do. I need to see exactly what he did. I need to know the truth." So I showed her. All of it. The yacht videos, the Instagram stories, the tweets, the articles. I showed her Jennifer Torres's TikTok. I showed her the other women who'd come forward. I showed her the timeline that someone had created, showing exactly where Marcus was and what he was doing during every hour that Emma had been unconscious. She watched it all without crying. Her face was calm, almost serene. When I finished, she handed my phone back to me. "I want to see the prenup," she said. "The whole thing." I don't remember everything that was in it. I pulled up the document on my phone and handed it to her. Emma read through it carefully, her finger scrolling down the screen. I watched her face as she absorbed the details of the agreement she'd signed 5 years ago. The agreement I'd insisted on, despite her protests that it wasn't necessary. That Marcus loved her for who she was, not what she had. When she finished reading, She looked up at me. "You knew," she said. "Not specifically. But I knew enough. I knew that Marcus was the kind of man who cared a little too much about appearances, who was a little too interested in the lifestyle your money could provide. I didn't have proof. I just had a feeling. And you were right." "I wish I'd been wrong," I said honestly. "I wish you'd married a man who deserved you. Someone who would have sat beside your bed every single second, who would have been terrified and heartbroken, but present. That's what you deserved." Emma nodded slowly. "I think part of me always knew too. There were signs, little things. The way he'd get angry when I suggested we scale back on spending. How he always wanted to go to the most expensive restaurants, stay at the fanciest hotels. How he'd introduce me as his wife, but make sure to mention that I came from the Chen family. I told myself it didn't matter, that love was more important than those details. Love is important, I said. But so is respect. So is partnership. So is showing up when things get hard. He never loved me, did he? Emma asked, and her voice was steady but sad. He loved what I could give him. The money, the lifestyle, the status. But me, just me, the person I am, I don't think he ever saw that. Then he's a fool, I said, because you are extraordinary, Emma. You're brilliant and kind and strong, and you deserve someone who sees that, who values that above everything else. Emma reached for my hand. I'm sorry I didn't listen to you. When you tried to warn me about him, when you wanted me to wait before getting married, I thought you were just being an overprotective mother. I thought you couldn't see what I saw in him. I was being an overprotective mother, I admitted. But sometimes mothers are overprotective for good reasons. Sometimes they are. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Emma said, "What happens now? With Marcus? With everything?" "That's up to you," I said. "I acted on your behalf while you were incapacitated. But now that you're awake, you're in control. If you want to reinstate his access to the accounts, if you want to give him another chance, I'll support you. It'll kill me, but I'll support you." Emma laughed, then winced at the pain it caused. "Don't make me laugh, Mom. It hurts. And no, I don't want to give him another chance. I want a divorce. I want him out of my life completely." "Is that terrible? Should I feel guilty?" "You should feel whatever you feel," I said. "But no, I don't think it's terrible. I think it's self-preservation." "Good, because I don't feel guilty. I feel angry and hurt and betrayed. But mostly I feel free, like I've been carrying something heavy for 5 years and I finally get to put it down." Robert came back then, carrying coffee and sandwiches. His face lit up when he saw Emma awake and alert. "There's my girl," he said, setting down the food to hug her carefully. "You scared us." "I scared myself," Emma said. "But I'm okay now. We're all okay." That night, as Emma slept peacefully with both of us watching over her, I checked my phone one last time. There was a message from David. Marcus's lawyer has withdrawn his lawsuit and the harassment claims. Goldman fired him this afternoon. Word is he's trying to leave the country, but his credit cards aren't working. Karma is beautiful sometimes. I smiled and put the phone away. 3 days later, Emma was released from the hospital. She was weak and would need several weeks of recovery, but the doctor said she'd make a full recovery. Robert and I took her back to our home in Georgia. She didn't want to go back to the New York apartment, didn't want to be anywhere that reminded her of Marcus. The divorce papers were filed 1 week later. Marcus didn't contest them. He couldn't afford a lawyer anyway, and the prenup made everything clear. Emma got everything. Marcus got nothing. He tried to call Emma once, from a number she didn't recognize. She answered, listened to him apologize, and beg and cry. And then she said 4 words. "I deserve better. Goodbye." And she hung up. She never heard from him again. 6 months later, Emma had fully recovered. She'd started therapy, joined a support group for people who'd survived narcissistic relationships, and began the slow work of rebuilding her life. She also started a foundation to help people escape bad marriages, providing legal support and resources for those who couldn't afford expensive lawyers. She called it the Second Chances Foundation. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. As for Marcus, last I heard he was living with his parents in Ohio, working at a car dealership. His Instagram remained private. His LinkedIn showed no new positions. He'd become exactly what he'd always been underneath the expensive suits and the fake smiles. Ordinary, unremarkable, forgettable. But Emma was extraordinary. She always had been. She just needed to remember it. And sometimes, that's what mothers are for. To remember who our children really are when they forget. To fight for them when they can't fight for themselves. To show up, always, no matter what. To never, ever leave them alone in the dark. That's what love looks like. Not champagne on yachts. Not Instagram stories and designer clothes. Just showing up. Just being there. Just fighting. Always fighting for the people who matter most. And I would do it again. 1,000 times over. Because that's what mothers do.